I let my wife joke that our marriage was just practice. So I filed for divorce, ended the comedy, and refused to be anyone's backup husband forever. Everything clicks into place. That is what happened at her sister's wedding last Saturday. My wife caught the bouquet, which was ironic considering what came next. "Maybe I will use this for my second marriage," she announced to the entire reception, waving those white roses like a victory flag. The crowd laughed. Her mother practically cackled. Even the bride seemed amused by the comment. But she was not done yet. When her aunt came over asking how we were doing as a couple, my wife delivered the knockout punch. "This one does not count. I am practicing for the real thing." More laughter, more nodding heads, more people treating our marriage like some kind of dress rehearsal. I sat there nursing my beer, watching my wife of 3 years turn our relationship into her personal comedy routine. The funny thing is, nobody asked for my opinion on being someone's practice route. They just laughed along like she had made the joke of the century. Her cousin chimed in, "You are so funny." Poor guy does not know what he has gotten himself into. More giggles. My wife soaked it up like she was performing at the comedy club downtown. I did not react, did not argue, did not even change my expression. Just sat there observing everything. The way she threw her head back when she laughed, how comfortable she looked, humiliating me in front of her entire family, the ease with which she dismissed 3 years of marriage as meaningless practice. That is when it hit me. This was not the first time. Those little comments she would make at dinner parties, the eye rolls when I would mention our anniversary plans, the way she would introduce me to her friends with that dismissive tone. It all made sense now. I was not her husband in her mind. I was her training wheels. The reception went on. She danced with her sister, posed for photos with that bouquet, and kept making references to her practice marriage whenever someone new joined the conversation. Each time, people found it hilarious. Each time, I filed it away in my memory. By the time we got in the car to drive home, she was still giggling about her performance. "Did you see everyone's faces? They thought I was so funny." I started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot. "Yeah, you were the star of the show." She missed the tone completely. I know, right? Sometimes I surprise myself with how witty I can be. The drive home was quiet after that. She dozed off about halfway through, probably exhausted from all that entertaining at my expense. I drove in silence, processing everything that had just happened. 3 years of marriage, countless family gatherings, dozens of friends and relatives who now saw our relationship as some kind of joke, thanks to her little performance tonight. The worst part, she genuinely thought she was being clever and funny. When we pulled into our driveway, she woke up and stretched. "Thanks for driving, honey. Tonight was so much fun." She grabbed that bouquet from the back seat like it was a trophy. I watched her walk to the front door, still holding those flowers, probably already planning her next comedy routine about her practice husband. That is when I made my decision. She wanted to practice. Fine. But practice time was about to end. The house was quiet as we got ready for bed. She hung up her dress, placed that bouquet in a vase on her nightstand, and started her usual nighttime routine like nothing had happened, like she had not just spent an entire evening publicly dismantling our marriage for laughs. "That was such a beautiful wedding," she said, brushing her teeth. "I hope when I get married for real, it is that elegant." There it was again. When I get married for real. Not we, not us, not our future wedding renewal or anything that included me, just her getting married, for real, to someone who apparently was not me. I did not respond, just finished getting ready and climbed into bed. She cuddled up next to me like everything was normal, like she had not just announced to 40 people that our marriage was meaningless practice. "Good night, practice husband," she whispered with a giggle, thinking she was being playful. I stared at the ceiling for a long time after she fell asleep. Her breathing became steady and peaceful while I lay there, thinking about bouquets and practice marriages, and all those laughing faces. Tomorrow would bring a new day, and with it the beginning of showing her exactly what happens when practice time is over. Sunday morning came with the smell of coffee and the sound of her humming in the kitchen. She was in an excellent mood, probably still riding the high from her comedy performance the night before. I found her making pancakes, that bouquet prominently displayed on the counter like some kind of championship trophy. "Morning, sleepyhead," she chirped, flipping a pancake with theatrical flair. I was just thinking about last night. Everyone loved my jokes about the practice marriage thing. I poured myself coffee and sat at the kitchen table. Yeah, they seemed really entertained. "Oh, come on, do not be so serious. It was just harmless fun." She slid a plate of pancakes in front of me. "You know, I did not mean anything by it, right? It is just wedding humor. Wedding humor, that is what she was calling it now. Of course, I said, cutting into the pancakes. Just jokes. She beamed at me like I just validated her entire comedy career. Exactly. You get it. That is why we work so well together. You understand my sense of humor. I nodded and ate my breakfast while she continued chattering about the wedding, how beautiful the venue was, how much fun the reception turned out to be, how her sister looked radiant. Not once did she mention how her jokes might have affected me. Not once did she consider that maybe turning your spouse into a punchline was not the pinnacle of comedy. After breakfast, I told her I needed to run some errands. She waved me off, already settling in with her phone to scroll through social media and probably share more details about her hilarious performance. My first stop was the law office downtown, not some fancy corporate firm, just a straightforward family law attorney who had handled my buddy's divorce 2 years ago. Practical, efficient, and discreet. The consultation was enlightening. We discussed assets, timelines, and the process itself. 3 years of marriage, no kids, both of us working. It would be relatively straightforward. I scheduled a follow-up appointment for Thursday. Next stop was the bank. I opened an individual account and transferred my direct deposit there. Not all of it, just enough to establish independence without raising immediate red flags. I kept the joint account active, but started planning my financial separation. By the time I got home, she was on the couch watching Netflix, still in her pajamas. "How were your errands?" she asked without looking away from her show. "Productive," I said, settling into my chair with my laptop. That evening, we went to her parents' house for Sunday dinner, a weekly tradition I had grown to tolerate rather than enjoy. The moment we walked through the door, her mother started up. "There is our little comedian from last night. Everyone is still talking about your practice marriage jokes." My wife practically glowed. "Really? I thought they were pretty good." "Oh, honey, you had the whole table in stitches. Poor guy here did not know what hit him." Her mother gestured at me with a laugh. I smiled politely and helped set the table while they rehashed her greatest hits from the reception. Her father joined in, making his own jokes about training husbands and practice rounds. The whole family seemed to think my marriage was the most amusing thing that had happened in months. During dinner, her sister called to thank everyone for attending the wedding. When the conversation turned to the bouquet toss, my wife put the call on speaker so everyone could hear. "I am still laughing about your practice marriage comment," her sister said through the phone. "You should do stand-up comedy." More laughter around the table. More encouragement for her to keep treating our relationship like material for her comedy routine. I ate my pot roast and listened to my wife's family celebrate her wit at my expense. That is when I started really paying attention to how they interacted with me. The dismissive glances, the way conversations stopped when I tried to contribute, the subtle eye rolls when I mentioned anything about work or my interests. This was not new behavior. I had just been too invested in keeping the peace to notice how little respect they actually had for me. After dinner, while she helped her mother with dishes, I stepped outside with her father for some air. "You know," he said, lighting up a cigarette. "She has always been the entertainer of the family, sharp wit. That one keeps things interesting." "Definitely keeps things interesting," I agreed. "Good thing you can roll with the punches. Some guys would get their feelings hurt over jokes like that." He took a long drag. "But you seem like you can handle her personality." I nodded. "I am learning exactly how to handle it." The drive home was quiet. She dozed off again, probably exhausted from another evening of being the family's comedy star. I drove and planned, thinking through timelines and logistics. Tuesday would be perfect. She had her book club meeting that evening, another weekly tradition where she likely shared more amusing stories about her practice husband. That would give me time to make some calls and finalize a few details. When we got home, she headed straight for the shower while I sat in my chair, laptop open, researching apartments in decent neighborhoods. Not that I was planning to move immediately, but it was good to know my options. She emerged from the bathroom in her robe, hair wrapped in a towel. "You are quiet tonight," she observed, climbing into bed. "Just thinking about the week ahead. Anything exciting planned?" I closed my laptop and looked at her. "Yeah, actually, I think this week is going to be pretty memorable." She smiled sleepily. "Good. We could use some excitement around here." If only she knew how much excitement was headed her way. The next few days were like watching a movie I had seen before, except now I understood the plot. Every dismissive comment, every eye roll, every time she corrected me in public, it all had new meaning now that I knew where I stood in her life. Monday at work, I mentioned to my colleague that I had attended a wedding over the weekend. "How was it?" he asked. "Educational," I replied. That evening she came home from her yoga class bubbling with excitement. Apparently, she had shared her bouquet story with the other women there too. You should have seen their faces when I told them about the practice marriage jokes, she said, dropping her yoga mat by the door. They thought it was hilarious. A couple of them said they wish they had the nerve to say things like that about their husbands. I looked up from my laptop. Sounds like you inspired them. I know, right? Sometimes I think I missed my calling as a comedian. She popped down on the couch next to me. What are you working on? Just organizing some files, I said, closing the laptop. What I was actually doing was creating a timeline of events, documenting patterns of behavior, and preparing a comprehensive overview of our assets. But she did not need to know that yet. Tuesday came with her book club meeting, just as I had anticipated. She left at 6:30, armed with a bottle of wine and probably more stories about her practice husband. The moment her car pulled out of the driveway, I got to work. First, I called my attorney to confirm our Thursday appointment and discuss strategy. Then I spent 2 hours going through our joint accounts, credit cards, and financial records. Everything was documented and photographed. I also took some time to really look around our house, the house we bought together 18 months ago. The mortgage was in both our names, but I put down the larger down payment from my savings. The attorney had already explained how that would factor into the divorce settlement. By the time she got home at 10:30, I was back in my chair with my laptop, looking like I had been there all evening. How was book club? I asked. Oh, it was great. We barely talked about the book, though. She kicked off her shoes and flopped onto the couch. I told them about the wedding and they were dying laughing. Apparently, I need to write a book called Surviving Your Practice Marriage. Catchy title, I said. I thought so too. Maybe I really should write something. I mean, if I can make everyone laugh about marriage, imagine what I could do with dating stories. She kept talking about her potential writing career while I half listened and continued working on my laptop. What struck me was not just her continued entertainment at my expense. It was how excited she got about the attention. The validation from strangers meant more to her than any consideration for how her jokes affected me. Wednesday brought a new revelation. She was on the phone with her college roommate, and I could hear the entire conversation from the kitchen where I was making dinner. No, seriously, he just sits there and takes it, she was saying. I made all these jokes about practicing for my real marriage, and he did not say a word, just smiled and nodded like a good little practice husband. I stirred the pasta and listened to her describe our relationship to someone who had never even met me. I mean, do not get me wrong. He is nice enough, pays his share of the bills, does not leave messes around, pretty low maintenance. But there is just no spark, no excitement. It is like being married to a really reliable piece of furniture. Reliable furniture. That is how she saw me. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I pushed him more just to see if he would actually react to something. But honestly, I do not think he has it in him. He is too passive. The pasta was ready. I drained it and started plating dinner while she continued her character assassination. Well, we will see. Maybe the right guy will come along and show me what a real marriage is supposed to feel like. Until then, I guess I am stuck with my practice round. When she finally got off the phone, she came into the kitchen like nothing had happened. Dinner smells good. What are we having? Pasta, I said, handing her a plate. How is your college friend doing? Oh, you know how it is. Same old drama with her boyfriend. Some people never learn. She sat down at the table and started eating. This is really good. You are getting better at cooking. I watched her eat the dinner I had made while she had been on the phone calling me reliable furniture and discussing her hopes for a real marriage with someone else. The irony was not lost on me, but I kept my expression neutral. Glad you like it, I said. Thursday morning arrived with a text from my attorney confirming our 2 o'clock appointment. I told her I had a dentist appointment and would be back by 4 o'clock. She barely looked up from her phone. The legal consultation went exactly as planned. Papers were prepared, strategy was discussed, and timeline was established. I signed the necessary documents and scheduled the filing for Friday morning. By Monday, she would be officially served with divorce papers. You sure about this? My attorney asked as I was leaving. Completely, I said. She has made it clear this is just practice for her. Time to let her graduate to the real thing. Friday evening, she announced she wanted to go out to celebrate. Celebrate what? I asked. Nothing specific. I just feel good lately, like things are looking up, Maybe we should go to that new restaurant downtown. I agreed. After all, it would probably be our last dinner out as a married couple, even though she did not know it yet. At the restaurant, she was in rare form, chatting with the server, making jokes, being the charming entertainer she saw herself as. During dessert, she reached across the table and took my hand. You know what? Despite all my jokes about practice marriages and stuff, you are not terrible to be married to. Thanks, I said. High praise. I am serious. You are dependable. You do not cause drama, and you let me be myself. That is worth something, right? I squeezed her hand. It is worth exactly what it is worth. She smiled, completely missing the meaning behind my words. Sunday night, as we got ready for bed, she was already planning her week. Book club on Tuesday, yoga on Wednesday, drinks with her sister on Friday. What about you, she asked. Any exciting plans this week? I thought about the divorce papers that would be served on Monday, probably while she was at work. Yeah, I said. I think this week is going to be full of surprises. Monday came and went like any other day. I went to work. She went to her job at the marketing firm downtown, and somewhere around 11 o'clock in the morning, a process server knocked on her office door. I got the confirmation call at lunch. Papers have been served, my attorney said. She seemed surprised. That was an understatement, based on the 17 missed calls and 12 text messages waiting on my phone when I checked it after my meeting. The text messages started calm. Call me, we need to talk, then progressed to confused. I do not understand what is happening, and finally landed on panicked. Where are you? Call me now. I did not call. Instead, I finished my workday like normal and drove home at my usual time. Her car was already in the driveway when I pulled up. She met me at the door, divorce papers in hand, mascara slightly smudged. What is this? She demanded, waving the documents at me. Legal paperwork, I said, hanging up my jacket. Do not be cute with me right now. Why am I being served divorce papers? What happened? Did someone put you up to this? I walked to the kitchen and got a beer from the fridge. Nobody put me up to anything. I made this decision myself. But why? We are fine. We are happy. This does not make any sense. I took a sip of my beer and looked at her. Really, looked at her. The genuine confusion on her face was almost impressive. We are happy, I asked. Is that what you call it? Yes. I mean, sure, we have our little jokes and stuff, but that is normal in marriage. Everyone does that. Little jokes? I repeated. Is that what you are calling it now? Her face started to shift from confusion to defensive. If this is about the wedding, I already told you that was just harmless fun. Everyone understood I was kidding around. Were you kidding when you told your college friend I was like being married to reliable furniture? The color drained from her face. She had not realized I had heard that conversation. Or when you told your book club you were surviving your practice marriage. Or when you told your yoga class you wish they had the nerve to make jokes about their husbands like you do? She set the papers down on the counter, her hands shaking slightly. You were listening to my private conversations. Hard not to when you are having them in our living room. But that is not the point then. What is the point? Her voice was getting higher, more desperate. The point is that you have spent months, maybe years, treating our marriage like it is temporary, like it is some kind of rehearsal for when you find someone better. Well, congratulations. Rehearsal is over. She stared at me for a long moment. You are being ridiculous. Marriage is hard work, and sometimes we say things we do not mean when we are frustrated or just trying to be funny. Funny, I nodded. Right. Well, here is what I think is funny. You spent so much time practicing for your real marriage that you forgot you were already in one. I never forgot anything. You are twisting everything around. I finished my beer and set the bottle on the counter. Thursday night dinner with your parents. Remember what you said to your sister on the phone? Her mouth opened, then closed. You talked about hoping the right guy would come along to show you what a real marriage feels like. Remember that conversation? That was just I was venting. No, you were being honest. Maybe more honest than you have been with me in years. She started crying then. Not the dramatic sobbing kind of crying, but the quiet, desperate kind that happens when someone realizes they have lost control of the situation. I did not mean any of it the way you are making it sound. I love you. We are married. This is real. Is it? I asked. Because according to you, this is just practice. And you know what? You were right. This marriage has been practice. I have been practicing being with someone who does not respect me, and you have been practicing being married to someone you cannot wait to replace. That is not true. Then explain to me why you are constantly making jokes about our marriage being temporary. Explain why you tell strangers that I am passive and boring. Explain why you have turned our relationship into entertainment for everyone we know. She could not. She stood there in our kitchen surrounded by the life we built together and could not come up with a single explanation that made any sense. I am sorry, she finally whispered. I will stop. I will not make those jokes anymore. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. I shook my head. You are still not getting it. The jokes were not the problem. They were just the symptom. The problem is that somewhere along the way you decided I was not worth respecting as your husband. That is not true. Then why do you light up when people laugh at me? Why do you get more excited about making jokes about our marriage than you do about actually being married? She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I do not know. I guess I got caught up in being entertaining. People think I am funny when I make those comments. And that was more important than being married to me. It was not a question, and she knew it. What do you want from me? She asked. How do I fix this? You cannot fix this. You wanted to practice for your real marriage. Well, practice time is over. Now you are free to find someone who counts. She picked up the divorce papers again, scanning through them like she might find a loophole. The house, she started. It will be sold. We will split everything fairly according to the law. My attorney has all the details. Your attorney? How long have you been planning this? Since Saturday night at the wedding. That is when you showed me exactly what our marriage meant to you. One night? You are ending our marriage over one night of stupid jokes? I am ending our marriage because of 3 years of you not taking it seriously. Saturday night was just when I finally started paying attention to what you have been telling me all along. She sat down at the kitchen table, still holding the papers. This is insane. People are going to think you have lost your mind. Let them think whatever they want. You have already given them plenty to talk about. What is that supposed to mean? I grabbed another beer from the fridge. Well, now when they ask about your practice marriage jokes, you can tell them the truth. You practiced so well that you graduated. For the first time since I had gotten home, she was speechless. The irony is perfect, I continued. You wanted everyone to laugh about how this marriage did not count. Now you get to find out what it feels like when it actually does not count anymore. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. I never wanted this. No, I agreed. You wanted the safety of being married with the freedom to treat it like a joke, but you cannot have both. So now you have neither. The next morning brought a parade of phone calls. Her mother called at 7 a.m., her sister at 7:15, and her father at 7:30. I let them all go to voicemail while I got ready for work like any other Tuesday. She had not slept much. I could hear her moving around the house most of the night, making calls, probably trying to figure out how to spin this situation to her advantage. When I came downstairs for coffee, she was already dressed and waiting for me in the kitchen. I called my mother, she announced. I figured she thinks you are having some kind of breakdown, a midlife crisis or something. I poured my coffee and checked my phone. What did you tell her? The truth. That you are filing for divorce because of some jokes I made at the wedding. Is that really the truth? I asked. Her face flushed. It is what happened. No, what happened is that you spent 3 years treating our marriage like a temporary arrangement, and I finally decided to make it official. My family wants to talk to you. They think this is all a big misunderstanding. Your family, I said, grabbing my keys, spent Sunday dinner laughing about what a joke our marriage is. Now they are upset because I agreed with them. That is not fair. Life is not fair. You taught me that. I left for work while she was still standing in the kitchen, probably planning her next move. The voicemails were exactly what I expected. Her mother demanding I call her back. Her sister trying to play peacemaker. Her father suggesting we talk this through like adults. Around lunchtime she texted, "Can we meet for dinner?" Somewhere neutral. I texted back, "Nothing to discuss. My attorney will handle everything from here. Please, just one conversation. We had 3 years of conversations. You spent them telling everyone our marriage was practice." My phone stayed quiet after that. Wednesday brought a new strategy. When I got home from work, she was in the kitchen making my favorite meal, grilled salmon with asparagus. The table was set with candles. Wine was already poured, and she had changed into the dress I had complimented her on during our first date. "What is all this?" I asked. "I thought we could have a nice dinner and talk, really talk." I looked at the elaborate setup. "You think salmon is going to fix 3 years of disrespect? I think we can fix this if we both try." I sat down at the table, more curious than hungry. "Okay, talk." She took a deep breath. "I know I hurt you with those jokes. I know I took you for granted. I was wrong and I am sorry. Are you sorry you said it or sorry I heard it?" "Both. I mean, I am sorry I said it because I did not mean it the way it sounded." "How did you mean it then?" She struggled with that one. I guess I was trying to be entertaining. People laugh when I make those kinds of comments. And I like the attention. So, you threw our marriage under the bus for laughs. I did not think of it that way. What did you think would happen when you told 40 people at a wedding that our marriage was just practice? I thought they would laugh and move on. I did not think it would become this big thing. I cut into the salmon. It was perfectly cooked, just like always. You know what the sad part is? You are a good cook. You keep a clean house. You are responsible with money. On paper, you should be a great wife. I am a great wife. No, you are a great roommate who I happen to be legally married to. There is a difference. She set down her fork. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? I want you to understand that this is not about the jokes at the wedding. This is about the fundamental lack of respect you have for me and for our marriage. I respect you. You call me reliable furniture to your college friend. Her face went red. I was having a bad day. You told your book club you were surviving your practice marriage. I was trying to fit in. You told strangers at yoga that you wish they had the nerve to make jokes about their husbands like you do. I was just making conversation. I put my fork down. Do you see what you are doing right now? Every single time I bring up something you said, you have an excuse. You are not apologizing for saying it. You are apologizing for getting caught. That is not true. Then explain to me why you have never once in all these conversations said that what you said was wrong, only that you did not mean it, or you were having a bad day, or you were trying to fit in. She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. You know what I realized? I continued. You do not actually think you did anything wrong. You think I am overreacting to harmless comments, which means this will happen again as soon as you think I have gotten over it. No, it will not. Yes, it will. Because you do not see treating your husband like a punchline as a problem. You see getting divorced over it as the problem. Tears started again. I can change. I can be better. You can be better for the next guy, the one who counts. Do not say that. Why not? You did. She pushed her plate away. I never said you do not count. You said this marriage does not count. I am half of this marriage. Do the math. Thursday brought reinforcements. Her sister showed up at our house around 6 p.m., armed with coffee and tissues and a practiced concerned expression. He will not talk to any of us. I heard her tell my wife through the kitchen window. I do not know what else to do, my wife replied. He is completely shut down. I walked in through the front door as if I had just gotten home from work. Oh, hi, her sister said with forced cheerfulness. I was just stopping by to check on you both. That is nice of you, I said, hanging up my jacket. We are all really worried about you. This seems so sudden. I got a beer from the fridge and leaned against the counter. What seems sudden? The divorce. I mean, you two seemed fine at the wedding. Did we? Or were you too busy laughing at the jokes about our marriage being practiced to notice? Her sister's smile faltered. Those were just silly wedding jokes. Everyone makes jokes at weddings. Do they? Do most wives tell their entire families that their current marriage does not count? She did not mean it like that. How did she mean it? Her sister looked at my wife for help. Tell him you did not mean it like that. I have been telling him that for 3 days, my wife said. He will not listen because you are lying, I said calmly. You meant every word of it. You just did not expect consequences. Her sister tried a different approach. Look, marriage is hard work. Everyone says things they do not mean sometimes. I do not say things I do not mean about my marriage. When I took my wedding vows, I meant them. When I call her my wife, I mean it. When I tell people we are married, I mean it. I took a sip of beer. The problem is, she does not. That is not true. Then why does she get more excited about making jokes about our marriage than she does about actually being in it? Neither of them had an answer for that. Here is what is going to happen, I continued. The divorce will be finalized in a few months. The house will be sold. We will split our assets according to the law, and she will be free to find someone whose marriage to her actually counts. You are being cruel, her sister said. No, I am being practical. She wanted to practice being married. Practice is over. Now she gets to do it for real with someone else. My wife started crying again. I do not want someone else. I want to fix this with you. You cannot fix something you do not think is broken. And you do not think treating your marriage like a joke is broken. You think my reaction to it is broken. I finished my beer and headed toward the stairs. Your sister can let herself out. As I reached the top of the stairs, I heard her sister whisper, "How did this happen?" And my wife whispered back, "I do not know. It was just supposed to be funny." 6 months later, I was signing the final papers in my attorney's office. The divorce was officially complete. The house had sold, and we both moved on to separate lives. She tried everything during those months. Tears, anger, bargaining, even showing up at my new place with homemade cookies and apologies. But I learned something important from our marriage. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. The last conversation we had was at the house sale closing. She looked tired, older somehow. I never thought it would really end like this, she said as we walked out of the title company. Really? You spent 3 years practicing for it? She winced. Even after all this time, she still could not handle the truth being thrown back at her. I hope you are happy, she said, not meaning it as a genuine wish. I am actually. Turns out being with someone who respects me is pretty nice. Her head snapped up. Someone you are already dating. I am doing whatever I want now. That is the beauty of not being someone's practice round anymore. She stood there in the parking lot, probably realizing for the first time that her actions had real consequences, that while she had been busy making jokes about practicing for her real marriage, I'd been planning my real exit. For what it is worth, she said quietly, I really am sorry. I know you are. You are sorry you lost your reliable piece of furniture. You are sorry your practice marriage ended before you found your upgrade. But you are not sorry for treating me like I did not matter because you still do not think that was wrong. She did not argue because she knew I was right. 3 months after that, I ran into her sister at the grocery store. The conversation was awkward but informative. She is having a hard time, her sister told me. Dating is not going well. That is unfortunate. She keeps comparing everyone to you, so she did not realize how good she had it. I loaded my groceries into my cart. She had exactly what she wanted, a practice marriage. Now she gets to use what she learned. Do not you miss her at all? I thought about that question. Did I miss the woman who made me excellent dinners while calling me furniture to her friends, who kept our house spotless while telling strangers our marriage was temporary, who shared a bed with me while planning for her real husband to come along? I miss who I thought she was, I said finally. But that person never actually existed. 1 year later, I was genuinely happy. New job, new place, new perspective on what a relationship should look like. I had learned the difference between someone who is with you and someone who is settling for you. I heard through mutual friends that she had gotten engaged to some guy she met through online dating 6 months after meeting him. Apparently, when she found someone she actually wanted to be with, she did not need years of practice. The engagement announcement made me laugh. Not because I was bitter, but because it proved everything I'd said was true. She had been practicing with me for the real thing, and she had finally found it. Good for her, and good for me for refusing to be anyone's backup plan. The bouquet she had caught at her sister's wedding probably ended up in the trash eventually, but the lesson it taught me was priceless. When someone tells you who they are and what you mean to them, listen carefully. She told me I was practiced, so I let her graduate. Best decision I ever made. Our story has come to an end. If you have made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I have selected 2 other videos for you that I am sure you will enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I will be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.